Imagine waking up in a fog. Everything around you seems normal, familiar faces, daily routines, the endless scrolling through your phone. But something's off. It's like you're seeing the world through smudged glasses, unable to tell what's real and what's distorted. You react to headlines without thinking. You judge people based on assumptions. You make choices that feel right in the moment, but later, you wonder, what was I thinking? This isn't just you. It's all of us. And the Stoics knew this thousands of years ago. Our minds are constantly tricked, not by evil forces or grand conspiracies, but by our own biases, our unchecked emotions, and the way we allow outside noise to shape our inner reality. Now think of your mind like a castle. Grand, complex, powerful. But here's the thing, it has no guards. Anyone can walk in. The angry rant from a coworker, a doom-filled news headline, a random stranger's vacation photo that somehow makes you feel like a failure. These uninvited guests settle in, change the furniture, and before you know it, your mind doesn't feel like yours anymore. The Stoics had a name for this vulnerability, mental undisciplinedness. And they didn't just point out the problem, they gave us the tools to build a fortress. To become the bouncer at the door of our thoughts. To learn how to say, you can stay, but you get out. Here's the twist. The clarity we're looking for doesn't come from fixing the world outside. It doesn't come from reading more news, following more influencers, or achieving more. It begins by mastering what we think we can't control, our attention, our ego, our habits, and our judgments. The Stoics believed that if you could discipline your thinking, the rest would follow. They didn't promise that life would become easier, but they promised you'd become stronger, sharper, and more at peace, no matter what life throws your way. In this video, we're diving deep into one of the most practical and transformative aspects of Stoic philosophy, unbiased thought. What does it really mean to see the world clearly? How do we protect ourselves from mental chaos, ego traps, and constant distraction? We'll break down 10 powerful Stoic lessons, each one a stepping stone to greater mental clarity, emotional strength, and inner calm. Whether you're new to Stoicism or you've been on this path for a while, this episode is designed to bring you back to the fundamentals and maybe, just maybe, help you see things with new eyes. Ready? Let's begin. 1. Your mind becomes what you think. A Stoic mind makeover. Take a moment and picture this. Your mind is a lump of clay. Soft, malleable, waiting, and every thought you have, every belief, fear, assumption, hope, is like the hand of a sculptor, shaping that clay into something. Over time, that something becomes the lens through which you see the world. That's not just poetic, that's Stoic philosophy, straight from the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius. He once wrote, "Your mind will take the shape of what you frequently hold in thought." For the human spirit is colored by such impressions. It's a powerful reminder that we're not passive passengers in our mental lives, we're the architects, the builders, the sculptors. What we think about most isn't just background noise, it's blueprint. But here's the danger. Most of us are running on autopilot. We wake up, scroll our phones, get triggered by a comment, dwell on an argument from yesterday, panic about tomorrow. We don't even notice the stories we're telling ourselves. And that's the problem. The Stoics warned us about this. They saw how habitual thinking, especially negative thinking, creates grooves in the mind. Like a river carving a canyon. Over time, those grooves become deep, automatic. Fear, doubt, cynicism. These thoughts start running the show, silently steering our emotions, reactions, and even the way we see ourselves. And what's worse, we don't even realize it's happening. So, what's the way out? The Stoics offer a concept that's surprisingly modern: your mental diet. Think about how we treat our physical bodies. If you eat nothing but junk food, sugar, grease, chemicals, you'll feel it. You'll be sluggish, tired, maybe even sick. But feed your body clean, nourishing food, and everything changes. You have more energy, more clarity, more strength. Well, the same goes for your thoughts. Every day, we're consuming thoughts, through news, through conversations, through what we read, watch, scroll past. It all enters the mind like food enters the body. And just like junk food, toxic thoughts leave residue: fear, bitterness, jealousy, hopelessness. But here's the good news. You can change what you feed your mind. Start by noticing what you take in. Are you constantly surrounded by drama? Is your social media filled with outrage, Comparison? Noise? Do your inner thoughts replay self-doubt on a loop? If so, it's time to shift the menu. The Stoics would say, feed your mind with gratitude, resilience, perspective. Surround yourself with ideas that elevate you, not deplete you. Read philosophy. Watch stories of courage. Reflect on your strengths. Replace negative self-talk with thoughts grounded in reality, not fear. And just like a body doesn't transform overnight, neither does a mind. It's daily work. It's repetition. But over time, those small, conscious choices reshape the mental clay into something stronger, calmer, clearer. Let's ground this with something real. Imagine you spend your morning watching headlines full of chaos. You scroll past images of people who seem to have it all: better jobs, better bodies, perfect lives. You catch yourself thinking, I'm behind, I'm not enough. Now, imagine a different morning. You start your day by reading a few lines from Epictetus. You journal about one thing you're grateful for. You listen to something uplifting. You remind yourself of a small win from the week. How different do you think your decisions, your emotions, your presence would feel that day? This isn't theory. It's practice. It's the Stoic way. They didn't say, ignore the world, or pretend things are fine. What they said was, you can choose what thoughts you entertain. You can rewire your mind. And by doing so, you reclaim your power. So ask yourself, what thoughts are shaping your mind today? Are they building the person you want to become? Or are they silently sabotaging your peace? You can't control every thought that pops into your head, but you can control which ones you invite to stay, which ones you feed, which ones you sculpt your future with. And when you start choosing those thoughts deliberately, like a craftsman choosing his tools, you begin to see the masterpiece forming. So now, with that awareness in place, let's take it one step further. What if, beyond just choosing our thoughts, we also learned to guard our minds? To become the gatekeeper of what gets in, and what must be kept out? Let's explore how the Stoics approached this in our next lesson. 2. Be the bouncer of your mind, guarding the gates against mental junk. Now that you understand your thoughts are shaping your mind like a sculptor molding clay, here's the next question. Who's allowed into your mental workshop? Who or what is walking through the door, uninvited, muddy boots and all, tracking chaos straight across your clean floor? The Stoics had a clear answer. You. You are the gatekeeper, the bouncer, the one who decides what enters and what stays out. Think of your mind as a beautiful castle. Inside is your peace, your focus, your ability to think clearly and live intentionally. But that castle isn't invincible. In fact, it's constantly under siege. And the threats? They don't come wearing armor. They come through your phone, through idle gossip, through that one friend who leaves you emotionally drained every single time. Let's get specific. Picture this. You're scrolling through your phone in bed, late at night, just 10 more minutes, you tell yourself. And then it begins, the doom scroll. One tragic headline after another. Outrage, scandal, fear. You don't even realize it. But your nervous system is now on high alert. Your sleep is shot. And your mind? It's just been fed a buffet of anxiety. Or take this one. A friend texts you. Again, they vent, they complain, they stir drama that doesn't concern you. But you feel obligated to respond. You read the message, your chest tightens, and just like that, your peace? Gone. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor himself, warned us about this exact thing. He wrote, every day, your mind is wiped clean of sacred principles by drama, terror, numbness, and subservience. In other words, the outside world is constantly trying to break into your inner calm. And unless you're vigilant, it will succeed. So what can you do? The Stoics give us 2 clear strategies. First, be ruthless with what you allow in. Not everything deserves your attention. That viral video, that heated argument on Facebook, that person who thrives on negativity, they don't need a seat in your mental castle. Choose your inputs the way you'd choose what food to eat. Don't consume mental junk and expect peace of mind. Curate your environment. Follow accounts that uplift. Engage with people who inspire. Choose books, videos, and conversations that feed strength, not fear. Remember, what you allow in, you eventually reflect back out. Second, practice mindfulness. This is the Stoic superpower. It's the ability to pause, observe your thoughts, and ask, is this useful? Is this true? Is this helping me live better? Let's say your mind starts spiraling. I'll never be good enough. Things always go wrong for me. Pause. Catch the thought. Step outside it. Ask, where did this come from? Is it based on fact or fear? You don't have to believe every thought you think. Mindfulness isn't about silencing your mind. It's about knowing which thoughts to listen to and which to let pass like clouds drifting in the sky. Here's a little Stoic exercise. Next time you feel emotionally hijacked, whether it's after doom scrolling or a draining interaction, don't react immediately. Breathe, observe, create space. The moment between stimulus and response? That's where your power lives. And don't forget, setting boundaries is a form of wisdom. If someone in your life constantly brings chaos, it's okay to step back. You're not obligated to let everyone have access to your peace. As Epictetus said, keep company only with people who uplift you. Let's be clear. Guarding your mind isn't about denial or building walls. It's about discernment. It's knowing that your mental energy is sacred and you get to protect it. Because when you start choosing what enters your mind with the same care you'd choose who enters your home, everything changes. You think clearer, you feel lighter, you respond better, and you finally begin to live on your terms, not react on everyone else's. So now that you're standing at the gate, guarding what comes in, what if we took this clarity one step further? What if we learned to question not just what's entering our minds, but the very way we interpret what's already inside? In the next lesson, we'll explore the Stoic art of cutting through illusion and seeing reality as it truly is. Let's keep going. 3. Don't be fooled by circumstance, the Stoic reality check. So you've started guarding your mental gates. You're choosing what gets in, filtering out the noise, and practicing mindfulness. But there's a subtler enemy that still lurks inside. One that's harder to catch because it hides behind things that look good, successful, impressive. That enemy? Misleading circumstances. You see, not every opportunity is a blessing. Not every loss is a disaster. And not every situation is what it seems. The Stoics understood this deeply. They knew that our perception, how we interpret the world, is often colored by emotions, ego, and impulse, which means sometimes we get played by our own perspective. Seneca, one of Stoicism's sharpest minds, put it this way: circumstances deceive us. We desire the opposite of what we once desired. Our plans are at war with our plans. He was pointing to something we've all felt: the tug of war between what looks good on the outside and what actually feels right on the inside. Let's take a modern example. Imagine you're offered a high-paying job. It comes with a title, prestige, benefits, everything your past self may have dreamed of. But there's a catch. The company culture? Toxic. The work? Soulless. You go home drained, uninspired, and more disconnected from yourself than ever before. From the outside, it's a win, but inside, it's a slow erosion of who you are. This is why the Stoics emphasized discernment, the ability to see through illusion and make choices based on values, not appearances. So how do you do that? They gave us a 4-step strategy. Think of it as a reality check toolkit. Step 1. Hit the pause button. When you're caught in a wave of emotion, excitement, fear, anger, don't act, don't speak, don't decide, just breathe. Create space between the trigger and your reaction. Even a few seconds of pause can stop you from making a decision you'll regret later. Step 2. Put on the objective lens. Imagine you're an outside observer, watching yourself from across the room. What would you see? What are the facts, not the feelings? Strip away the drama. Look at the situation as if it were happening to someone else. This helps break the spell of emotional distortion. Step 3. Follow your inner compass. This one's crucial. Ask yourself, does this align with my values? With who I want to be? Not with what others expect. Not with what's trendy. With you. The Stoics believed that true peace comes from integrity, living in alignment with our personal principles, even when it's hard. Step 4. Zoom out. Weigh out. In the heat of the moment, every decision feels massive. But here's a trick. Project yourself 5 or 10 years into the future. Will this still matter? Will you be proud of the choice you made? This kind of long-term thinking cools the emotional fog and clarifies what truly matters. Let's try another example. You're scrolling through social media. Everyone seems happier, richer, more fulfilled. A friend is vacationing in Bali. Another just bought a house. You, meanwhile, are still figuring things out. You feel small, behind, inadequate. But hit pause. Is what you're seeing even real? Or is it a curated highlight reel, polished for likes and validation? What do you actually value, peace or performance? Growth or comparison? Here's the Stoic reminder. Don't trade your inner peace for an outer illusion. One more. You've got FOMO, fear of missing out. You say yes to every invite, every opportunity, because you don't want to fall behind or feel left out. But secretly, you're exhausted, spinning in circles, burned out. Ask yourself, 5 years from now, will this party, this trend, this thing you're chasing mean anything? Or are you sacrificing what matters for a short-term hit of relevance? This isn't about withdrawing from life. The Stoics weren't hermits. They were soldiers, emperors, statesmen. They showed up, but they showed up with clarity, with purpose. And that's what this lesson is about. Not just living reactively, but deliberately, seeing through the illusions, choosing based on what's real, not what's loud. So the next time a shiny opportunity tempts you, or a loss feels devastating, take a breath. Step back, look again, ask yourself, is this truly what it seems? Or am I being pulled by the tide of appearances? Because when you stop reacting blindly and start responding with clarity, you stop being a pawn of circumstance. You become the master of it. And that kind of awareness? That's freedom. So now that you've sharpened your vision and learned to see the truth behind the noise, what happens when success actually does show up? How do you stay grounded when the world starts clapping? Let's talk about that next. 4. The ego trap. When success becomes the enemy of clarity, you've learned how to see past illusions. You've practiced stepping back, slowing down, and making decisions based on what truly matters. But now comes a trickier test, one that doesn't show up wearing red flags. It arrives dressed in applause. Success. The Stoics warned us, success isn't always a gift. Sometimes, it's a test in disguise. Seneca, that sharp and seasoned Stoic thinker, once said, prosperity is a more severe ordeal than adversity. Why? Because when things go wrong, your flaws get exposed. You're forced to confront your limits. You grow, or you crumble. But when things go right, that's when ego quietly walks in the door. Think about it. You land the promotion. People start complimenting your talents. Your bank account looks healthier than ever. And slowly, without even noticing, you start believing your own press. You start thinking you're untouchable, indispensable, different. It's subtle, it's intoxicating, and it's dangerous. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled an empire, knew this better than anyone. In the middle of absolute power, he wrote to himself, make sure you're not made emperor. Avoid that imperial stain. Stay simple, pure, good. This wasn't humility for show. This was discipline, a daily effort to not let power, success, or recognition distort his character. Because the ego is a shapeshifter. It tells you that your worth is in your title, that you don't need advice anymore, that the rules no longer apply to you. And once you start feeding that voice, clarity begins to vanish. You lose the very presence and wisdom that got you to success in the first place. So what's the Stoic solution? Start with gratitude. Every morning, remind yourself, I'm not here alone. Your achievements, no matter how impressive, were built on the back of effort, timing, and the help of others. Be thankful for the people who supported you. Be thankful even for the setbacks that taught you. Gratitude keeps you grounded. Next, practice humility. Humility doesn't mean shrinking yourself. It means knowing where you truly stand. It means being open to feedback, asking questions, and staying curious. There's always someone smarter, better, wiser. The moment you forget that, you stop growing. True humility says, I'm proud of what I've done, but I still have much to learn. And finally, serve. One of the quickest ways to dismantle ego is to lift someone else. Mentor a younger colleague. Volunteer. Share knowledge without expectation. When you serve, you shift the focus from self to contribution. And that's where meaning begins. Let's put this into context. Imagine a rising entrepreneur. She starts out hungry, humble, willing to learn. Her business takes off. Praise pours in. She starts believing she's different, smarter than the rest. Soon, she stops listening to advice. She ignores red flags. And eventually, it crumbles, not because she lacked talent, but because ego blinded her. Now imagine if she'd stayed grounded, expressed gratitude to her team, remained open to feedback, shared credit. She might not just have succeeded longer, she would have succeeded better. The ego trap isn't just a celebrity problem. It shows up in everyday life. It's the parent who thinks they know best and won't listen to their kids. The manager who can't accept input from junior staff. The friend who constantly turns every conversation back to themselves. And often, it doesn't look like arrogance. Sometimes, it looks like defensiveness, insecurity, the need to always be right. The Stoics didn't aim for perfection. They aimed for mastery over self, over pride, over false illusions of importance. So ask yourself, when good things happen, do I stay rooted? Do I remember what matters most? Do I see success as something to hold lightly, not cling to? Because here's the truth, the higher you rise, the more important it is to stay anchored. And the only thing strong enough to keep you steady is a clear, humble, grateful mind. So if you're winning right now, celebrate it. But don't let it define you. If you're climbing, keep going. But don't lose yourself on the way up. And if you've already tasted ego's bitterness, don't worry. The Stoics knew, every moment is a chance to return to what's real. As we move forward, let's go deeper. What if the key to wisdom wasn't knowing everything, but having the courage to admit you don't? Let's explore that next. 5. The know-it-all trap. Wisdom begins with, I don't know. There's a strange pressure in modern life, to have answers, to sound smart, to never say, I'm not sure. From job interviews to dinner parties, from social media debates to meetings at work, we're rewarded for certainty, even when it's false. But the Stoics? They saw that as a trap. Because here's the paradox, the more convinced you are that you know everything, the less room you have to grow. Epictetus, never one to sugarcoat, once said, it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. That's a punch of truth. Right there. Think about it. Have you ever sat in a conversation where someone dominated the room, rattling off opinions on politics, health, the economy, space exploration, and the meaning of life, all in one breath? You can almost see their mind closing, locking the door to anything new. Now be honest. Have you ever been that person? Even just a little? We've all done it. Spoken with confidence when we were unsure. Pretended to know something just to avoid looking unprepared. But every time we do, we miss the opportunity to actually understand. The Stoics didn't equate knowledge with pride. They equated it with humility. Real wisdom, they taught, begins with the words, I don't know. It's not weakness, it's power. Because when you say, I don't know, you open a door, you invite questions, you create space for truth to walk in. So how do we unlearn the need to always know? Step 1. Embrace the phrase. Start using it, out loud. When someone asks your opinion and you're unsure, say, I'm not sure, let me think about it. Watch what happens. Most people won't mock you, they'll respect you. Because honesty is rare and refreshing. Step 2. Ask more questions. This is the heart of the Socratic method, the ancient approach that shaped Stoic thinking. Socrates didn't lecture. He asked, what do you mean by that? How do you know it's true? What happens if the opposite is also valid? You don't have to interrogate people. Just be curious. Replace assumptions with inquiry. Seek clarity over confirmation. Step 3. Listen to learn, not just to reply. Most of us listen while waiting for our turn to talk. But real listening? It's rare and powerful. Try this. The next time you're in a conversation, pause before responding. Reflect on what the other person actually said. Consider if they know something you don't. It takes discipline and humility, but that's what Stoicism is all about, choosing what's difficult because it's right. Step 4. Look for blind spots. Even your strongest beliefs? Question them, not to tear them down, but to see if they hold under pressure. Ask yourself, is there another perspective I'm missing? Is this based on evidence, or just my habit of thinking? This kind of self-inquiry doesn't make you uncertain. It makes you sharp, open-minded, resilient. Let's bring it to life. Picture someone arguing passionately online. They've built their identity on a certain opinion. The facts change, the world changes, but they don't, because admitting they were wrong feels like admitting they were worthless. Now imagine someone else, same scenario, but instead, they say, interesting point, I hadn't thought of it that way. That person doesn't lose credibility, they gain it. Because they're not defending ego. They're seeking truth. In the long run, who do you trust more? The Stoics would say, seek to be the second kind of person. They believed that a wise man is not the one who knows everything. It's the one who never stops learning. The one who questions more than he preaches. Who listens more than he lectures. Who values being corrected more than being right. And that shift, from I must know to I want to learn, changes everything. You feel lighter, more open, less defensive. Your conversations deepen, your relationships improve, your clarity sharpens. Because now, you're no longer performing intelligence. You're building it. So ask yourself today, where in your life are you pretending to know? Where could you say, I don't know, and open the door to something better? Because once you let go of needing all the answers, you finally start asking the right questions. And speaking of questions, here's one. If you're starting to see more clearly, what should you actually be focusing on? Let's find out in the next lesson. 6. The inner circle, reclaiming what you can actually control. So now you've let go of the need to know everything. You're asking better questions. You're listening more. You're learning. But there's one more shift the Stoics ask us to make, and it's a big one. They want us to stop trying to control the ocean and start focusing on the oars. Let me explain. Imagine you're in a small boat on a vast sea. The wind changes. Waves rise. The current pulls you in different directions. You can't stop the waves. You can't change the wind. But you do have a paddle. That paddle? That's your mindset, your actions, your values, your effort. And yet, most of us spend our days shouting at the waves, complaining about other people. The economy, the algorithm, the weather, the past. We waste precious energy on things we can't influence, while ignoring the one thing we can, our response. Epictetus, the most practical of the Stoics, broke it down like this. Some things are up to us. Some things are not. It sounds simple, but it's the foundation of Stoic power. So how do you apply this? Start by drawing 2 circles in your mind. In the inner circle, your thoughts, your decisions, your habits, your effort, your attitude. These are yours to own. Outside that circle, other people's opinions, your reputation, the outcome of events, the weather, the stock market, social media drama, all of it outside your control. And here's the trap. The more you focus on the outer circle, the more powerless you feel. You get anxious, frustrated, resentful, because no matter how hard you try, you can't bend reality to your will. But when you refocus on your inner circle, everything shifts. You realize, I can't control whether this job market improves, but I can control the skills I build today. I can't make everyone like me, but I can choose to act with integrity. I can't predict the future, but I can show up fully in the present. That shift is the difference between burnout and purpose, between chaos and clarity. So how do you start redrawing your circle of influence? Step 1. Define your values. Ask yourself, what do I stand for? What matters most to me? Honesty, creativity, discipline, kindness? Write them down, because once you know your values, decisions get easier. You stop chasing approval and start acting in alignment with who you really are. Step 2. Eliminate distractions. Let's be real. The modern world is designed to hijack your focus. Notifications, gossip, outrage, comparison, every ping, every scroll pulls you out of your center. You need to reclaim your attention like it's your most precious currency, because it is. Mute what doesn't matter. Say no to what drains you. Guard your energy like you would your health, because they're connected. Step 3. Take intentional action. Stoicism is not passive. It's not about sitting in silence while life crashes around you. It's about choosing your response deliberately. It's about asking, what can I do right now that reflects my values and moves me forward? One step, one decision, one habit at a time. Let's take a real-world example. Imagine you've been rejected by a client, a date, a job, a friend. You could spiral, obsess, replay what went wrong, try to change their mind. Or, you could pause, feel what you feel, then ask, what's in my control? Maybe it's updating your resume, or moving on with grace, or showing up better tomorrow, not because they'll notice, but because you will. The Stoic approach doesn't promise instant results, but it offers you something better: peace, ownership, confidence, not in the world, but in yourself. Because once you stop trying to steer the storm and start rowing your boat with intention, you realize the water still moves, but so do you. And here's the unexpected gift. When you focus on your inner world, the outer world often changes too. People trust you more. You feel less scattered. You make progress, not because you forced it, but because you stopped wasting energy on what you can't change. So ask yourself today, am I chasing waves or mastering the paddle? Because when you redraw your circle and live inside it, you don't just find clarity. You find freedom. Now, speaking of freedom, what if I told you it's found not in the future or the past, but in this very moment? Let's talk about that next. 7. The now factor. Only the present is real. Everything else is an illusion. So, you've redrawn your circle. You've stopped fighting the waves and started mastering your paddle. But even now, there's another silent thief waiting to pull you off course. It's not a person. It's not a headline. It's not even an external problem. It's time. More specifically, your mind's obsession with everywhere but here. The Stoics saw this long before smartphones and endless distractions. They understood a basic truth of human nature. The mind is like a time machine, constantly jumping back to the past, fast-forwarding to the future. Rarely, if ever, fully present. One moment, you're reliving an argument from last week, what you should have said, what they meant, how it could have gone differently. The next, you're worrying about what tomorrow might bring, your finances, your relationships, your reputation, the next thing that might fall apart. And while your body sits here, in this exact moment, your mind is 1,000 miles away. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, warned against this trap. He wrote, "Don't let your reflection on the whole sweep of life crush you. Stay focused on the present situation, and ask yourself why it's so unbearable and can't be survived." In other words, come back. Come back to now, this moment, because it's all you really have. The past? Gone, unchangeable. The future? Imagined, unwritten. But this breath? This sound? This heartbeat? That's real. So how do we return to the present when the time machine of the mind keeps hijacking us? The Stoics might not have used the word, but they lived the practice, mindfulness. Let's break it down into something you can do right now. Step 1. Breathe. Seriously. Just breathe. Deep and slow. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Do it again. Feel the air move through your body. Let that breath anchor you. The Stoics believed in the body-mind connection long before it was trendy. Breathing is your emergency brake on mental time travel. Step 2. Use your senses. Look around you. What do you see? Hear? Smell? Feel? Touch the texture of the chair beneath you. Notice the light on the wall. Listen for a sound you hadn't paid attention to. Your senses are the gateway back to now. They don't live in yesterday or tomorrow. They only exist in the present. Step 3. Observe your thoughts. Don't try to shut them off. That's not Stoicism or mindfulness. Just notice them, like clouds passing in the sky. Oh, there's worry, there's judgment, there's nostalgia. Don't fight them, don't follow them, just watch. This builds mental space and clarity. Step 4. Practice gratitude. For the small stuff. The Stoics weren't big on grand gestures. They believed real peace came from appreciating what's already here. A warm drink, a calm breath, a roof over your head, the ability to read, to think, to reflect. Every moment contains a gift, but you have to stop rushing past it to see it. Let's bring it into a real-life situation. You're at dinner with your family, but your mind is at work, replaying a tough meeting. You're there, but not really. You miss the laughter, the smell of food, the sparkle in someone's eyes. The present moment passed you by. Now imagine choosing to pause, to notice the colors, the warmth, the joy. That moment becomes richer because you were actually in it. This isn't just about peace. It's about performance. Presence makes you sharper, kinder, more resilient. You stop reacting to ghosts of the past or fears of the future and start responding to what's actually happening. And here's the paradox. When you focus fully on the present, you actually shape your future more powerfully. Why? Because decisions made in awareness, without fear or regret, are always better. So ask yourself, how much of your life have you missed while mentally being somewhere else? How often have you been with someone, but not really with them? How many moments have you rushed through, waiting for the next? The Stoics invite us back, not to a mountain, not to a retreat, but to this breath, this step, this second. Because if you can be fully here, even for a few moments a day, you'll start to feel the difference. You'll stop running, stop clenching, stop trying to live in two places at once. And finally, you'll live. So take a breath, look around, you're here now, and that's everything. And as you begin to master presence, there's one more illusion left to conquer, one we rarely notice. Because it looks and feels so real. Let's talk about that next. 8. The sensory illusion. Don't believe everything you see or feel. You've learned to come back to the present, to breathe, to notice, to feel. But now comes a surprising twist. Just because you're present doesn't mean what you're perceiving is true. That might sound strange, even contradictory, but to the Stoics, it was essential. They understood something that neuroscience is only now proving. Your senses can lie. Not because they're broken, but because they're human. What you see, hear, feel, and experience? It's not raw truth. It's a filtered version, a remix, a highlight reel, edited in real time by your emotions, your past, and your personal biases. Sextus Empiricus, one of the early Stoic-influenced thinkers, once wrote, "The senses do not apprehend external objects." In other words, what you experience is not reality. It's your interpretation of it. Let's bring that home with a real example. You're walking into a room, and a friend doesn't say hi. Instantly, your mind fills in the gaps. They must be upset with me. Maybe I did something wrong. Maybe they don't like me anymore. Your heart races. Your mood shifts. But is that true? Or is it a story your mind created, based on incomplete information and old insecurities? This is the sensory illusion at work. What we hear isn't just sound, it's meaning. Filtered through our history. What we see isn't just light, it's judgment. Colored by belief. What we feel isn't just sensation, it's memory, emotion, and fear, masquerading as fact. The Stoics didn't tell us to ignore our senses. They told us to question them. So how do we do that? Step 1. Analyze logically. Before reacting, pause. Ask yourself, what are the actual facts here? What do I really know for sure? What am I assuming based on feeling alone? Back to the example of your silent friend. Fact, they didn't say hi. That's it. Everything else, your fear, your conclusion, is added by your mind. Learn to separate fact from fiction. Step 2. Ask again. Don't trust your first reaction blindly. When something upsets you, revisit it. Is there another possible explanation? Am I jumping to conclusions? What would I tell a friend if they were in this situation? This isn't about doubting yourself constantly. It's about making space for clarity. Because the first story your mind tells you is often the one written by fear. Step 3. Get multiple perspectives. This one's powerful. Ask others what they see, how they interpret a situation. You'll be amazed how often someone sees something completely different than you, and how that opens your mind. The Stoics believed that wisdom comes not from certainty, but from curiosity. Let's take another modern example. You're on social media. You see a photo of someone smiling on a beach. Instantly, you feel inadequate. They have the perfect life. I'm falling behind. But what are you really seeing? A carefully chosen image, a 2-second snapshot. You don't see the argument before the photo, the stress behind the smile, the credit card debt paying for that vacation. That's the illusion of appearance. And we fall for it every day. The Stoics knew this. That's why they didn't chase luxury, reputation, or beauty. They knew those things were surface, and the truth always lived deeper. So when you feel triggered by what you see or hear, practice this. Stop, question, reframe, look again, not with your eyes, but with your reason. Over time, this practice builds a new kind of vision, one that's not easily fooled. You stop reacting impulsively. You stop judging instantly. You start seeing more clearly, not just the world, but yourself. You realize that sometimes, what feels like rejection is just someone else's stress. What looks like success is just someone else's mask. And what you thought was failure might just be a redirection in disguise. The Stoics weren't trying to make us skeptical of everything. They were helping us see deeper, past the filter, past the bias, toward truth. So ask yourself today, what assumptions am I making based on first impressions? What emotions are coloring my perception right now? What might I see more clearly if I just took a second look? Because once you stop reacting to illusions, you begin responding to what's real. And when your vision sharpens, your mind follows. But what happens when that sharpened mind is pulled in 1,000 directions at once? When focus itself becomes a fight? Let's explore that next. 9. The focus formula, depth over distraction. You've trained your vision. You're learning not to trust every emotional flash or first impression. But even with clarity, there's one major force working against you, every single day. Distraction. Let's face it, focus is under attack. Notifications, emails, messages, pop-ups, tabs. Algorithms designed to steal your attention every waking moment. And the worst part? We've convinced ourselves that multitasking is a strength, that doing more means achieving more. But the Stoics and modern science say otherwise. Seneca said it plainly. To be everywhere is to be nowhere. If your mind is split in 5 directions, none of them get the best of you. Just fragments, just noise. Let's put it another way. Doing more doesn't mean doing better. But doing one thing, deeply, with presence and intention, that's where the power is. This is the focus formula, and it's not a productivity hack. It's a discipline, a way of living, and it starts with letting go of the myth of multitasking. Because here's the truth. Your brain doesn't multitask. It switches rapidly between tasks, burning energy and reducing quality every time. It's like trying to write a novel while watching an action movie with the volume on max. Something's going to suffer. So how do you reclaim your focus in a world that profits from breaking it? Let's walk through the Stoic-inspired steps. Blank. Step 1. Embrace deep work. Cal Newport, a modern Stoic in disguise, coined this term. Deep work is the ability to focus without distraction on a cognitively demanding task. It's where your best ideas are born. It's when you do your most meaningful work. And the Stoics would have loved it. Because deep work is all about discipline, clarity, and control, the very things Stoicism teaches. Set aside time where you go deep, no interruptions, no bouncing between apps, no open chat bubbles lurking in the corner of your screen. One task, full attention, that's it. Step 2. Use time blocking. Don't just create a to-do list, create a to-focus list. Plan your day in blocks of time. 8 to 10 a.m. Write. 10 to 11 a.m. Meetings. 1 to 2 p.m. Creative thinking. Assign every hour a job. This isn't about rigidity. It's about intentionality. When your time has a purpose, your mind stops drifting. And when the block ends, switch with awareness. Don't slide unconsciously from task to task. Step 3. Disconnect to reconnect. The Stoics didn't battle email, but they battled noise, distraction, interruption. They sought stillness, not because it was trendy, but because it was necessary for clarity. So take their advice, cut the digital cord when it counts. Turn off notifications, put your phone in another room, log out of that tab. You don't need to be available to everyone at all times. You need to be present for what matters now. This isn't about rejecting technology, it's about using it on your terms. Let's see what this looks like in real life. Imagine a writer working on a new book. The phone buzzes every few minutes. Messages pop up. They're checking email, toggling between windows, answering calls. After 4 hours, they've barely written a paragraph. Now imagine that same writer closes everything, sets a 90-minute timer, and just writes. No interruptions, just deep focus. What do you think the difference in output and peace of mind would be? It's not about time, it's about attention. That's why the focus formula works. It doesn't promise more hours, it gives you back the power of a single hour done well. And here's what happens when you start practicing it. You feel more energized, not drained. You finish things. Instead of starting 100 half-done tasks, you move with purpose, not panic. And perhaps most importantly, you gain a deeper respect for your own time. Because when you show your time that it matters, it starts showing you what you're capable of. So ask yourself, where is your attention going each day? Are you busy, or are you effective? Are you scattered, or are you making progress? The Stoics remind us, the mind is like a blade. The more focused it is, the sharper it cuts through confusion. So today, choose focus over frenzy. Choose depth over speed. And remember, multitasking might look impressive, but mastery is quiet, deep, and intentional. And speaking of intentional, there's one more powerful practice left. One that may seem counterintuitive in a world obsessed with more, louder, faster. Let's explore the quiet power of restraint next. 10. The quiet power of restraint, when less is truly more. We've talked about clarity, presence, focus, control. You've learned how to guard your mind, question illusions, and go deep rather than wide. But there's one final Stoic principle that ties everything together. And it might be the quietest, yet most powerful, of them all. Restraint. In a world that shouts, the Stoics whispered. In a culture that glorifies hustle, they valued stillness. In a time that equates more with better, they chose less but better. Let's be honest, modern life worships busyness. You ask someone how they're doing? Chances are, they'll say, busy. It sounds like a badge of honor. But is it? Because here's the truth the Stoics knew. Being busy doesn't mean you're effective. And speaking constantly doesn't make you wise. Marcus Aurelius warned, don't be a person of too many words or too many deeds. It wasn't about doing nothing. It was about doing the right things. With clarity and intention. Let's unpack that. Imagine two people. Both work 8 hours. One rushes from task to task, constantly checking messages, juggling conversations, never pausing to breathe. At the end of the day, they're exhausted, but unsure what they actually accomplished. The other blocks their time, says no to distractions, chooses 1 or 2 meaningful tasks and gives them their full presence. At day's end, they feel centered and have something to show for it. Same hours, different result. That's the power of deliberate action, rooted in restraint. So how do you build this stoic muscle? Step 1. Prioritize ruthlessly. You don't have to do everything. In fact, doing fewer things with care will always beat doing everything with chaos. Ask yourself, what actually matters today? What moves me closer to my values? My purpose? My peace? Let go of the rest. Step 2. Speak less. Mean more. The Stoics weren't silent, but they were intentional. They avoided gossip, complaints, and filler talk. Every word mattered, and that gave their voice weight. Try this. The next time you're tempted to speak just to fill space, pause. Ask yourself, is this necessary? Is this kind? Is this helpful? Let your silence speak confidence. Step 3. Embrace stillness. You don't always need more input, more noise, more movement. Sometimes, the wisest thing you can do is stop, reflect, go inward. The Stoics practiced this often, through journaling, solitude, even walking without aim, not to escape the world, but to return to it stronger. Because when you stop chasing the next thing, you start noticing the right thing. Step 4. Say no. Without guilt. You cannot be available to everyone and everything and still be available to yourself. Restraint means setting boundaries, not out of selfishness, but out of clarity. When you say no to what's not essential, you say yes to what matters most. Let's make it real. The entrepreneur who fills every hour with networking, meetings, and grinding, but never sits still long enough to hear their own intuition. The parent who signs their kids up for every activity, thinking more means love, but misses the joy of a quiet evening together. The friend who always talks, always advises, but never truly listens. Each of them means well, but without restraint, even good intentions get drowned in noise. The Stoics didn't want less life. They wanted a better quality of life, and restraint was their secret. Because restraint brings clarity. Clarity brings intention, and intention leads to action that actually matters. So here's the challenge. Can you do less, but do it better? Can you speak less, but mean more? Can you slow down, not to fall behind, but to see clearly where you're going? Because that, right there, is the essence of Stoicism. It's not about being emotionless. It's about being disciplined. It's not about retreating from life. It's about showing up with purpose. It's not about controlling everything. It's about mastering yourself. The final thought, the Stoic way forward. And so here we are. 10 lessons, 10 powerful truths, all leading to one central idea. The quality of your mind determines the quality of your life. Control your thoughts, and you control your reality. Guard your inputs, and you protect your peace. Focus your energy, and you create meaningful results. Restrain your impulses, and you unlock your inner strength. The Stoics didn't give us a checklist. They gave us a compass. A way to move through the chaos of life, not with fear or frenzy, but with calm, purpose, and clarity. So take these lessons, revisit them, reflect on them, and more importantly, live them. Because you don't need more time. You need more presence. You don't need to be louder. You need to be truer. And you don't need to control the world. You just need to master yourself. That's Stoicism, and that's where your transformation begins.